Hey everyone. So what is one of the biggest hurdles to identity change and incorporating that spiritual side of yourself? Codependency. Codependency is massive here in Australia especially. There is no spiritual life in codependency, so you'll find that you're very dependent on your partner, you're very dependent on everybody else, you're very, very dependent. Don't get me wrong, you need to have good people in your life that really understand who you are, so I'm not saying typically that you can't really rely on anyone else. You want to be able to go to people and trust them. That's really important. But there is no spiritual life, so there's limited amount of arena for spiritual growth. So in codependency, you lack this. You also have a lot of control, so there's also a lot of control in codependency. So this doesn't work in identity change because you need to get into the flow of life. So your need to be in control will not happen in identity change because it will be out of control at times. So learning to realistically say goodbye to codependency is your really big embrace to success, because once we lose control, we surrender and then we get more into the identity change and spiritual aspect of who you are. So it really is quite great to give this up. We all control at a certain extent, including myself, but there's different contexts of control and there are certain measures of control, and I don't believe that this and identity change and the spiritual aspect side of your life really work together. There's lack of freedom. So codependency is kind of like a little prison, and you can't actually go out and live a great life because there's a lack of freedom. A lack of freedom for your own choices. Sometimes, the way I see it really is that to have an identity change and to really incorporate the spiritual aspect of yourself, you've got to have some freedom. You've got to have some freedom to have some choices. Those choices may not be liked by other people. That's not up to them. It's up to you. Okay? And there's a lot of manipulation that goes on within codependency. So if you're dealing with a codependent, you'll know that manipulation, there'll be certain amounts of control anyway, and you'll have no spiritual life within that relationship either. So there'll be lack of freedom. There's so much control. This is pretty much a quick summary of codependency. Codependency works in a very different manner. And how to combat this is not always easy, because when you are programmed from parents that have been codependent, a lot of your friends can be codependent, because codependency is everywhere. You're seeing it all the time. So once you awaken to this term and you awaken to say, okay, I don't have freedom, I can't have, we'll get into voice and being listened to and being heard. That's really important. We'll get into that later. So this is one of the biggest hurdles to the spiritual aspect of yourself, and codependency is massive. It is huge. So that's just a quick summary of codependency, and I'll really get into it later on. Codependency is what you'll face once you say, okay, I'm going to embrace identity change and learn to incorporate the spiritual aspect of myself. I need to first look at codependency and how to get out of it. That takes a long time. I don't care what anybody has to say. It's not an overnight job. Okay, so that's just one of the biggest hurdles that you'll ever go through is codependency and getting out.